Hey everybody, Kenny here. This time we're going to be doing our build test with our Sorcerer. As with the others, we will be testing out over at the Forbidden City Dungeon. For our Sorcerer skill build, we've gone full 5 points into Arclash and gotten the enhanced Arclash upgrade that makes it that if the initial swipe of Arclash crits, then it will swipe an additional time. And Flickering Arclash that makes it that when we hit an enemy with Arclash, then we increase our movement speed. The reason I went a full 5 points into Arclash is because the primary form of damage in this build is using our ultimate, and this gives us the most benefit to have as powerful as possible. And unlike the other basic skills in the game, Arclash is actually comparable to its contemporaries. So you can see that Arclash deals 59% damage. And if we look at Charge Bolt, the bolts deal 28% damage. If we look at Chain Lightning does 50% damage. So we actually do more damage with our basic attack than we do with our core skills here. Down in the core skill area, we've invested 1 point into Charge Bolt. We got the upgrade that makes it that hitting at least 3 times with the same cast of Charge Bolt releases a Lightning Nova. And we got Destructive Charge Bolt upgrade, which makes it that hitting enemy with Charge Bolts reduces their damage dealt by 20%. So giving ourselves some damage reduction right off the bat there. We fully invested in Chain Lightning. We got the upgrade that increases Chain Lightning's critical strike chance per bounce, as well as making it that when Chain Lightning critically strikes, it has a chance to form Crackling Energy. Crackling Energy is very important for our build, so we want to be getting it in any way we can. In the defensive skills area, we did not take anything. All the points you're seeing there are because of equipment we're wearing. I did not invest any points into defenses. Oh, not into defensive skills. In the conjuration area, we got 1 point in Align the Elements, which gives us a building damage reduction against elites for as long as we haven't taken damage from one. So our first damage source from an elite by the time we actually see one will be reduced by 40%. We put full ranks into Mana Shield, so every time we spend 100 mana, we gain 50% damage reduction. We put full ranks into Protection, so every time we use a cooldown, we get 30% of our maximum life as barrier. Put 1 point into Lightning Spear, and got the upgrade that makes it that after critically striking with Lightning Spear, you gain increased critical strike chance restoration. And we grab the Summon Lightning Spear bonus that makes it that collecting Cracking Energy increases our damage with our next Lightning Spear by 20%, up to 100%. Down in the Master area, once again, we did not take any of the skills here. All these points are just from the equipment we're wearing. But we did get 3 points into the Static Discharge passive that gives us a lucky hit chance to make it that our critical strikes with shock skills have a chance to form Cracking Energy. And Invigorating Conduit, which makes it that absorbing Cracking Energy gives us mana back. Down in the ultimate area, we got the 1 point in the passive that gives us a stacking critical hit chance buff every time we attack with a shock skill until we actually crit, at which point it resets. And we put full ranks into the Electrocution passive, which makes it that any enemy that we critically strike with our shock skills deal decreased damage. So just lots of damage reduction all around. The ultimate we took is Unstable Currents, which is a buff that makes it that when we're using any shock skill, a random core, conjuration, or mastery skill is also cast. We grab the upgrades that increase our attack speed by 20% while active, and the Supreme Unstable Currents upgrade that makes it that while we have Cracking Energy, it continually pulses and does not consume any of its charges. And then in our key passive area, we took Overflowing Energy, which makes it that Cracking Energy hits an additional enemy, and each time Cracking Energy hits an enemy, our shock skills cooldowns are reduced by 0.1 seconds. And that cooldown bonus is increased to 0.25 seconds against elites. This is the reason why it's so important for us to have Cracking Energy spawning as frequently as possible, because the more Cracking Energy we have, the faster all of our stuff comes back. So the more often we're using Lightning Spear and Ice Blades, the more often we're able to use our Unstable Currents. And since Unstable Currents, we took this upgrade here that makes it that our attack speed is increased by so much. That's why we want as many points in Arc Lash as possible, because Arc Lash is already a very fast attacking skill, and when that's up, like, we're attacking very fast, just as fast as we can. For our enchantments, we are not using Chain Lightning directly. Instead, we put all those points into it so that every time we spend 100 mana, we also cast Chain Lightning. Basically, our Charged Bolts is our main mana spender, and we passively cast Chain Lightning so that our main attack is essentially, well, not our main attack, but our main spender is giving us lots of damage reduction, while occasionally casting our high damage attack skill that arcs around and hits enemies that we don't have direct sight on. And then we took the Ice Blade enchantment. Actually, did I show Ice Blades in the tree? I don't remember. So Ice Blades, we put 2 points into that. We grabbed the upgrade that makes it that the cooldown of Ice Blades is reduced by 0.5 seconds each time it hits a vulnerable enemy, which Ice Blades causes vulnerability. And Summon Ice Blades, which makes it that 20% of enhanced Ice Blades cooldown reduction is applied to our other skills, which is the reason why we took Ice Blades. Essentially, Ice Blades makes enemies vulnerable, and then while enemies are vulnerable, both Ice Blades and any of our other skills that attack an enemy that is vulnerable cause all of our cooldowns to start ticking down faster. And with that, I paired the Ice Blades enchantment, which makes it that for every 40 seconds of cooldowns we spend, we spawn an Ice Blade on a random enemy. The reason I took this is because having more Ice Blades appear more often makes it that enemies are being made vulnerable more often, meaning that we are reducing our cooldowns as often as we need to keep this build functioning properly. Without this, we're kind of at like half efficiency. For a gear, our weapon is a dagger that has intelligence, vulnerable damage, and damage to close enemies. Lots of damage to close enemies, actually, with a good attack speed multiplier. Our boots are adventurer's boots of the Bounding Conduit. Have an extra evade charge on them. Increase our intelligence and willpower. Give us some dodge chance. And when we use teleport, we increase our movement speed. Now, teleport is on our bar here, but as I mentioned, we have not invested any points in teleport. We only have this because I happen to be wearing an item that gives us all the defensive skills. So I just put that there to have I put that there instead in place of Chain Lightning, so that I have an additional additional means of dodging occasionally. Our pants are the Archon Folds of Might. These give us damage reduction from close enemies, life regeneration, thorns. I put some topazes on this so that anytime we are crowd controlled, we receive less damage than we would normally, which is very important. And the aspects on this is that we gain additional damage reduction anytime we use our basic skills, which we are using our basic skill very often. On our glove, we're using the Boneweave Gauntlets of Armageddon, which give us increased attack speed, increased crit chance, more intelligence. The ranks in Fireball and the aspect on this don't matter. We're not using any of that. Our chest gives us damage reduction from distant enemies, gives us some increased damage, and I put 2 more topazes on this. So we have lots of damage reduction from control when anytime we're control impaired. Our hat gives us extra mana, more life regen, and another topaz. We're wearing a ring that gives us even more life regen, some damage against chilled enemies, some flat life. Our other ring gives us damage against crowd controlled enemies, more mana, more regen. This amulet here, the only reason I'm using this is because one, it gives us that 1 rank in defensive skills, so we can have teleport there if we need it. The bonus to the percentage bonus to dexterity is interesting, but it's not anything special for us because we don't really have all that much dexterity anyway. But most importantly, it makes it that our basic skills gain a massive bonus to attack speed, which is the entire reason we're using this. And our offhand is Sister Octavia's prayer book, which you get from completing the Exorcist side quest chain in Kovashad. This gives us some cooldown reduction, some crit chance, and most importantly, a lucky hit chance to restore our primary resource. Well, 6% of our primary resource, which is very nice. With that out of the way, I'm going to head over to Forbidden City and see how our sorcerer does. As with our druid and necromancer, the first objective here is to slay some enraged spirits. I'll chime in as we make progress. Your spirit down.
I pray the cathedral sends reinforcements soon. May you have mercy and may know of my cowardice. Sounds have stopped. I'm going to try to escape. Ready yet?
Alright, spirits down. Next objective has been killing all the enemies ahead. Yep, so they all enemies.
I'm not ready yet.
all the enemies are taken out. So let's head on to the boss.
I'm not ready yet. I'm low on precious money.
Okay, boss down. Yeah, so after I put these together, like I guess put like an elapsed time thing maybe for the boss on each. Mind you, like I'm not basing my decision on which character was able to take the boss out the quickest. Because most likely this character probably did it the fastest. But, yeah, like, I don't think I'm really moving forward with my sorcerer. Like, I like my druid and necromancer quite a bit more. So it's really going to be kind of a coin toss between those two. Let's head back town. I mean, there's obviously nothing wrong with my sorcerer build. It's clearly very effective. It's just that, like, it's not my playstyle. You know, like doing melee mage is like something that I love to do, and this lets me do that. But what my necromancer and druid are capable of is more in line with the way I like to play. Because, like, you know, while I'm in melee, you know, like this character like feels a little too like wowy, if you get my drift. But even though like this is the only melee build you can really put together in, you know, for a sorcerer in Diablo 4, like it's still like not like the same as like what I do with my necromancer and druid, which both have like, again, they both have casting in their kit, they both have melee in their kit, and the way that they play off each other is just like more what I like to do in these types of games. Yeah, so I decided I'm going to make this a literal coin toss. So heads I go druid, tails I go necromancer. Heads it is, which I think was druid, so. Druid is a character I'll be playing through the campaign in, which is apt since that's the character that I did Act 1 with, so. But I like, even though I'm going to be posting the rest of my playthrough, same as I did everything else, for the reason I did so much of Act 1, 2, and 3 with these characters was so I didn't have to stop to listen to anything when I went through them with the character that I eventually played through the campaign with. So my druid will be skipping everything, all dialogue, all cutscenes, you know, just plowing right through Act 2 and 3. And then, you know, like then in Act 4, like, we'll be slowing down to do all of the actual story stuff, you know, like collecting lore and everything. Yeah. I'm going to clean up my inventory, repair my gear, and that's going to be it for my sorcerer until I get around to playing as them again, which won't be anytime soon, honestly. Like I'm gonna play my druid into endgame, Once I get to a point that I'm comfortable with in endgame, then I'll switch to my Necromancer, do the same thing. Then I'll start up my... Then once my Necromancer is at a good place, then I'll rate my Barbarian and Rogue and, you know, see which of those two I like better. Whichever one I like more, like, we'll, you know, go into endgame with the others. And then between the two leftovers of the Sorcerer and whichever I like less between Barbarian and Rogue, you know, they'll be the next up. So eventually I'll have every class into endgame. I don't know how far I'll go into endgame with each class, but, you know, I'll definitely get each character to that point. At which, you know, like, and from there, like, I'll do, like, kind of like my thoughts on the game and how much I enjoyed it, things like that. Ultimately, like, I don't plan on playing the seasons for this game. You know, like, I plan on, you know, like, once I get all those characters to endgame, that's pretty much as far as I plan on ever going with Diablo 4. You know, just have every class in endgame and maybe go back to them every now and then to push to 100 eventually. But I'm not going to be doing like I do with Path of Exile, where I play every league. Like, just because, like, this game isn't built in a way where, like, you know, like, that's interesting for me. You know, like, it's too... I don't want to say it's too slow to get started, but it's too slow to actually do the things that matter. If you get what I'm saying. You know, like having, like, this kind of, like, WoW form, like, World of Warcraft format for the way that this game is set up. Like, it is a huge turnoff for me. Just massive. Like, you know, like if they wanted to make sure that I was never going to go back to this game, they did. They made it perfectly for that way for me. Because, you know, like, World of Warcraft was a game that I was very heavily invested in for many years until Cataclysm, like the Cataclysm expansion dropped. And day one with that, I cut ties with World of Warcraft forever. I've never gone back to it. Never. Like, yeah, since that expansion, I have never touched that game. And I, like, any game that's even remotely like World of Warcraft, I don't play. So, you know, so this, you know, like they kind of broke my heart with this, but I get that the idea was that they wanted to turn World of Warcraft players into Diablo players. And for that, I feel that this is probably going to be very successful. And, you know, like, I think that that's great for those people. And hopefully, you know, those players that, you know, the WoW players that they get that never played Diablo 2 will, you know, get into that, and then eventually into Path of Exile, and then eventually into Path of Exile 2. Since I think Path of Exile 2 is going to obliterate Diablo 4. I mean, like, I don't know in terms of player numbers. Like, there's no way to tell with that. But, like, in terms of actual quality action RPG experience, I think it's going to absolutely wipe the floor with Diablo 4. Because honestly, and it won't even really be that difficult for them to accomplish that, because Diablo 4 made so many mistakes. They made, like, every mistake you could make with an action RPG, and maybe they did it intentionally, so that way, as the game goes, you know, like, the seasons go, they go, oh yeah, we fixed this thing that you all complained about. You know, what do they call that? Like, create the problem, sell the solution kind of thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, the game was intentionally built, like, with that in mind. You know, like, they intentionally do things the wrong way, so that, like, people always feel like, oh, the game's getting better. You know, like, every time there's a big patch, you know, like, you know, Diablo 4 is so much better now. You know, they added this quality of life thing and this quality of life thing. Even though all the quality of life things that this game's missing are things that exist in Diablo 2. You know, like, it's crazy the kind of stuff that, you know, like, that isn't in this game as a $70 game. Absolutely nuts. But yeah, that's gonna, as I mentioned, that's gonna be it for my Sorcerer for quite some time. As always, if you like listening to this old man talk about RPGs, and you've enjoyed all of my Diablo 4 content up to this point, or any Diablo 4 content of mine that you happen to have consumed, And if you're doing other YouTube stuff, like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, Ve Victus, Vires and Numeris, and bye.